Welcome to Photo Finds. I am your host Kevin. This week we are starting out at Typhoon Lagoon, where they have recently reopened for the winter after having repaved this front area. So they've got some new foliage set up along the main corridor, which you'll see again as you go around the corner. And they've created some additional exit rows there, just so it's not so crowded when the place gets out. Now, the entrance of Typhoon Lagoon is undergoing the same changes we're seeing in other places, namely the conversion to RFID. In fact, there aren't any regular turnstiles anymore. They have to use handheld things like iPhones when they're scanning in a regular old ticket. A little construction spot at Typhoon Lagoon, probably just routine maintenance there. And from that point, we're switching over to Disney's Animal Kingdom, where the Theater in the Wild is having some work done up at the front, and this little planter in the front area here has been removed so that people could continue to walk through while the construction bumps through in the side. Now, this is brand new. It's only about a week old, and it's what you'll find at the end of the queue for both the standby and the FastPass at Expedition Everest. There's no explanation given for it. Previously, this hallway only had a couple of photos of Himalayan guides and so forth, and those photos are still there. But at the end of that walkway, where you do the U-turn for both FastPass and standby, you'll see something that looks just like this. Now, it kind of has the appearance of space for screens, so I'm wondering if there's something next generation oriented with this. I saw this in my trip to Animal Kingdom. I'm not in Animal Kingdom often enough to notice when things change, and apparently this is a couple of months old now. It's an animal guide that you can see what kind of animals are in, for instance, in which lands. So a little bit pixelated there, but there's the back side as well. You can see that there's a lot of different animals at Animal Kingdom, and they're really upping their zoo profile with examples like that. Now, we are at Epcot, of course. This is Mission Space, where they haven't changed the look feel of the pavilion. There's just some construction going on the outside wall here. The ride is still open. You can see we are still open, but building the future Epcot signs. This caught my eye in the electric umbrella. I don't know that I've taken a picture of this before. The vegetable flatbread may be a somewhat new item at Electric Umbrella because I think it's been maybe up to half a year since I've eaten there, so it may not be all that new. It is starting to be flower and garden season. As you can see, the sushi-like, as my wife calls them, the flower containers out in the water are there, and the flower beds are in place now along both sides here of this central lagoon, but they're still building things in the background, so they're not all the way done and ready to open up. Now, we're here at Test Track to look at a couple of things that are new, but while I'm here, it kind of caught my eye that this spot has some background typewriting stuff on it, and you can see World of Motion or 1982. There's some hidden history contained in that writing you see there. There's also one point in the ride where the similar writing shows up, kind of a nod to history there. Now, what we're here to look at is something that they tested, I believe it was on Saturday of this past weekend. This is the FastPass return line, and the kiosks are roped off, as you can tell. Now, it turns out that the single riders still did their quickie design experience on their machines over on the left here, but the FastPass people went beyond this and went around the corner and did a U-turn back into the regular design studio. So what they were doing was getting everyone to go through the full design experience. And the standby people would have to wait back here more, and they were asked if they had RFID cards, in other words, a key to the world card. I learned later that the Test Track is running short of those cards, the plain white cards. I guess people are stealing them despite not being very interesting looking to steal, and they were using, therefore, the FastPass were routing around down this hallway and then loading into this room before going into the design studio itself. Now, that was a test that was done only on Saturday. One of the other cast members there told me it was done not because of the cards, but because there was a lot of complaints. FastPass people want the full design experience. But it must have been a test, because by the next day, on the Sunday, it was back to the normal pattern, where FastPass only had the quick design experience and they were not loading from this side door. So maybe they're still feeling their way through it. This has been there for at least a couple of weeks, but I haven't taken a picture of it before. On the loading dock of Test Track, as you can see, are several of these pylons, and they say things like "buckle up" or something like that, I think. But the World of Motion logo is visible on those little stanchions as well. There's that Phineas and Ferb concoction I made mention of somewhat recently. It's like a frozen lemonade. Comes in this plastic beaker. Now, as I said, it was flower and garden season, so I'm not going to take complete topiary pictures, at least not this time around. But this one caught my eye. I don't remember if Pan has been up in the top of the pavilion before, but he is kind of interacting with Hook down below. I thought that created a nice dynamic. It really drew your eye around the pavilion in a way that lends some more dynamicism than these topiaries normally have. Now, I also, within the last week, got to go to a park event operations private party. Now, park event operations is the department that decorates when there's something going into the parks that's temporary. So private parties, let's say, conventions, pin events, that sort of thing. They also have their hand in flower and garden and those sorts of things. And this was an upcharge event for the Tables in Wonderland. That's the discount card you might have if you're buying a lot of sit-down restaurants throughout the year. Now, this took place in their off-site warehouse, which is over by the airport, actually, not anywhere close to Walt Disney World. And I just enjoyed the cover story, I guess, of their building. You'll recognize here the address from Finding Nemo. And in fact, if you peek in the window, what you'll see is a doctor's office with, Nigel the bird here smacked up against the window. So it's a real sense of humor in this front waiting area. And it carries over into their working offices. So there's a Nightmare Before Christmas office. There's a Dumbo office. It was all fascinating stuff to visit. And these are props. In this case, these are the Nightmare Before Christmas maquettes that were used to sell the design before they approved the actual movie. And these weren't used in the movie, but they were used to sell the design. So they have their facility set up with, kind of a reception area up at the front. And then later we all went back into the warehouse where we had our dinner. Which was created by their special event people. It was delicious, and it was amidst the warehouse props and stuff. And so you can see, for instance, here the Rapunzel Tower that was used in Flower and Garden previously. It's not there this year. And many other props, many of them off to the left of the camera. We weren't supposed to take pictures back there. There were many things to look at, the old Skyway vehicle, several old Snow White vehicles, a couple of Star Jets. So lots and lots of banners and photo opportunities and backdrops and those sorts of things from just decades at the parks. It was real fascinating to take a tour through there. Well worth the upcharge price, even if you're not a huge fan of one particular type of food. There was a seafood ceviche here that was good. They had other food that you could have custom made for yourself. It really was excellent from a gustatory point of view, although I think a lot of people were here for stuff like this, the props, and a chance to take a photo with Mr. Toad's Wild Ride cars once again. So that was a unique experience that I hope they repeat, and apparently they do repeat it every year. Here are a couple of T-shirts that caught my eye from Epcot history. Some of these have been out previously. I don't know if this particular one has. It looked at least new to my eyes. Epcot 30 T-shirts that have been out before. And then the Epcot 30 shot glasses, or as Disney calls them, toothpick holders, since they don't sell shot glasses at Walt Disney World, of course. These are $25 for a set of 4. That takes us to the end of this week's set of updates, and we will catch you again next week, and we thank you for joining us.